Right. All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's Tipple's virtual wine tasting. There's Elizabeth and Jeff Vaudrey, the owners of Tipple's Brews and Wine here in Gainesville, Florida. Thank you all for joining us. This week, we are going to be enjoying the signature grape of South Africa, Pinotage. Born and bred in South Africa, and quite a unique and wonderful grape to explore. This will be our third tasting trip down to South Africa, I believe, during this last year. And I realized I had...
You hadn't done the signature grape for the area.
Like, what am I doing? Okay, Pinotage in here. So, as we are always raring and ready to go, if you have not already done so, go ahead and open up your bottle of Pinotage and pour yourself a glass. The ideal starting temperature is European cellar temperature, 55 to 60 degrees. I usually throw my red wines into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes ahead of time to accomplish this, and it will warm and evolve as you enjoy the wine. All right. So like I said, this guy is all Pinotage. Alcohol content tonight's about 13.5%. So right in the lower middle range for reds. I think you'll find some unique qualities in this grape versus any other that we've tasted. And we can get a quick sniff, but if you would, let's, while we're getting our thoughts together and our initial impressions, take a look at this screen. That's not the first one. There we go. All right. So the 2019 Pinotage, Tim Atkins gives this guy a 93 point. It regularly gets about 90 points. This is considered to be an exceptionally good year. Pay no attention to the fact that the picture I was able to find is the 2016. We are enjoying the 2019.
Look at it upside down.
Exactly.
That one number.
Pinotage is an interesting wine to pair with because it is intense, but medium bodied, not heavy bodied. So roast vegetables with Asian sauces and curry seasoning, swordfish, deeper pork dishes would be really good with this, that kind of a thing. And let's jump back.
I'm thinking things, but I don't know if they're right. So
that's all right. We're going to jump back. We're going to go through the initial, initial thoughts. So, all right. So I'd go earthy. Jumps right out of the glass. It's definitely got a lot of terroir driven, a little soil driven character, and that is by design. We'll talk about that as we go through the evening.
I feel like I smell the terroir more than I taste it.
There is a bit of a tarriness, like a dark tar. So not a lot, but just a hint. That is very, very appropriate to this varietal. And it can get completely out of hand. Historically, when winemakers worked with it, they grew it in an area that was too warm and they didn't really know what to do with it. Pinotage actually historically has a horrible reputation. As a grape that a lot of people do not like. They're really working specifically with this to show what they can do with this grape grown properly. Nice spiciness, nice deep.
Spiciness as in pepperiness?
I'd go peppery.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. And then I was like, oh, I might be wrong.
No, lovely pepper quality. Absolutely, totally on it. And then, just staying with the nose for a minute is a really kind of a dark, almost a deep red plum, black cherry, dark fruits.
Yeah, plum is the first. When I took a sip, and we probably opened it 20 minutes ago. When I first took a sip, I was like, "This is a little juicy," but a lot of dark plum came out. But right now, in eating with food, I get a lot more of that kind of smokiness and a little bit more of that earthiness from it and stuff like that. Almost, I'd almost compared to like a mole sauce or something else like that. That kind of like earthy, sweet type of thing coming out. But
oh yeah, this guy has got a really nice smoky, earthy quality to it. In fact, so much of that is sitting ahead of the fruit. It's a bit of an old world expression because the fruit is kind of almost taking a back seat to the tertiary flavorings that are coming out.
So we say with some wines, fruit forward.
Right.
Do you say fruit backward?
Why not?
Okay.
We do now.
We
Yeah,
do now.
There we
That's-
go.
I feel like for how peppery it is, it's so smooth. Like a lot of times the peppery ones are like a little bit, drier is the word that I want. This is just so smooth and like easy drinking, even with that peppery quality.
Yeah, I agree. I think part of where you would go with that is a lot of those peppery ones are more acidic.
Yeah.
And this is not as tart. It's got that nice, and now not that it doesn't have a freshness to the
Some
fruit.
tart to
Oh,
it,
sure.
though,
And it
yeah.
finishes that way, but it's not a highly acidic wine.
Mhm.
I would call it really nicely balanced right across the board. Because I mean,
Sure.
here we are. It's a great balance of those soil driven flavors with the fruit. And actually, as I sip more and more, I said that the fruit was almost taking a back seat. Yeah, as I 3, 4, 5 sips in, I go even balance on there. And it's kind of an even balance on the acidity. It's enough that it keeps freshness and it has a lingering finish that hangs around on your palate, but it's not so aggressive that it becomes biting on the tongue or anything like
Yeah,
that.
it's not biting at all.
Right.
I can
And-
taste the pepperiness without feeling like it's biting me. So on that note, and since Kiwi's here,
Oh,
do you want
tannins.
to talk about the tannins?
Let's talk about tannins. All right. So I'd say this guy is pretty modest on the tannins. I'd give it a medium minus on how much tannin there is in there. So nice that they're pretty velvety. They may plump up with a little more air as we wait, but yeah, and it's not known for being. Actually, it's known that it could be a tannic wine, but they specifically grow this in a cool environment to hold that back, and so it won't be so aggressive, and so you can enjoy. And it is what they want you to enjoy with what they're creating here is how flavorful Pinotage can be, and I think that they nail.
Yeah, it has a lot of character to it.
Yeah, because Pinotage can be an overbearing, big fruit, tarry, aggressive wine that's very difficult to enjoy. This is not that wine.
No, I don't feel like it's difficult to enjoy, but I feel like with the flavors that you mentioned, I'm definitely getting
Oh, yeah,
I'm getting the fruitiness, I'm getting the tarriness, but I don't feel like it's overwhelming me.
Sure, I go. It's a very bold wine still. Yeah,
Yeah, for
totally with you on that. I agree.
And a lot of like cranberry flavor too.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that's that. Especially, I think it's more of the finish because it starts out with kind of the darker cherry, dark red plum, but it finishes because that acidity hangs out as the fruit lingers and leans and gets leaner and leaner. It does. I'm totally with you, Brian. I go cranberry
with that
on the finish.
tart finish. And not overwhelmingly tart, but definitely for me a tart finish.
But it starts out with that rich dark fruit, which is kind of fun. This wine has a lot going on, and it's a really, as someone who's had several Pinotages, this is a really nice Pinotage where it does have bold flavors, but it's totally balanced and friendly. Let's.
I think you should talk about how it came to be, because you were telling me that on the walk the other night about. And then I stopped you because I wanted to talk
you want
about
the
it here.
story of
Yeah, but the grape itself, like what happened with
yeah, we got a whole section, but first let's talk about where it's from. All right, so now that we've had some initial thoughts, you guys can enjoy sipping, and let's talk about, yes, please, where we are drinking wine from. So, yep, go ahead. So here we are, South Africa. Actually, I kind of like this one because, I mean, just in case anyone needed to see it. So here we are, Africa as a whole.
In case you don't know what the continent of Africa looks like.
I want to be all inclusive with this discussion. So
if we're geographically challenged people,
that's right.
This is Africa.
So, and then shockingly, the country of South Africa is at the southern tip of Africa. I mean, wow. Specifically, we are drinking from this bay
very
there.
southern tip of
Yeah, we're all the way down there. So South African wine areas. Overberg is where we are this time. We're right here. We were last the the last red blend that we had was from Swartland. So we've had one from there and one from there.
It's
Was that the really spicy one?
Mm-hmm. That was the one, that was the shakalaka.
Uh-huh.
I love saying that one.
Shakalaka.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great name. So we've gone from Swartland to Overberg. So let's go in even a little closer. So here we are. Tonight we are in the Himmel and Ard Valley.
I'm impressed.
Which
you could pronounce that.
Thank you so much. I have no idea if it's correct. We're going to call it correct. So, by the way, that translates in Afrikaans to heaven and earth, the heaven and earth valley.
That's very cool.
And so here's the valley. This is exactly where we are drinking tonight. And look, they list the major wineries. Hamilton and Russell makes Southern Rye. So that's who we're drinking tonight. So number 9, right there. And this proximity to Walker's Bay and see how close it is definitely plays into what we're drinking tonight. And we will discuss that. So it's another horrible area. I mean, why would you ever want to go to such an ugly place? Look at it's just so gorgeous. Dramatic and beautiful, right? They're approximately 3 kilometers from the bay. So they actually do get they have a maritime cooling wind that makes this, it's the southernmost wine region of South Africa, but with the cooling wind, it actually helps cool it off and give it some of the growth that gets kind of character and quality because of that coolness. So it doesn't over ripen the grapes. An aerial view. And here you can see, like,
it's right there.
There's the bay right there. And so obviously the bay has the southern right whale. Part of their migration goes through Walker Bay. They named the wine after the whale. And I love this. One of my favorite bottles in the store.
Oh, yeah.
It's gorgeous.
I guess I didn't realize how mountainous the tip of South Africa was.
There's a ridge that runs along there. And then here's like a total reason why we all need to go down there. I want to be drinking this wine there.
Oh, definitely.
In that hot tub.
With a dog.
That's right. Hey, absolutely, I want the dog there.
We want to be the dog.
You want what?
I want to be that dog.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or the people in the hot tub. I would settle for that.
Yeah.
I'd rather be in the hot tub than be the dog.
No, I'm with Julie. I'd like to be in the hot tub.
Right.
Yeah.
So the soil here, we're talking about a mix of porous sandstone with red clay. And so what it's has a it's a theme. It has a low level of carbon-based nutrition, but it has a high level of minerality. And it drains very quickly. They actually get quite a bit of moisture there, almost too much, except for the soil being so porous and fast draining. And then with the cool air helps it so that they're not dealing with too much humidity, and then therefore they're not getting rot. So the combination of coolness coming off the bay and the fast drying soil is what makes it possible to grow in this area that otherwise might be too warm.
Yeah, I was wondering what their average temperatures are. Do you know?
They are, a lot of them are in the like in the 60s.
Really?
Yeah, I was looking during the growing season and thought,
Wow.
I would say it looks to be like hot tub temperature.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Well, you can see, look, they've got a heater right here, so it's probably pretty chilly down there.
Yeah.
But so one of the things that works with this, and one of the reasons there's so much character to these grapes, is the cool air coming into that area allows them to leave the grapes on the vine for an extended period of time. They have a very consistent growing season. And so rather than ripening quickly in a lot of heat, it actually is a slower ripe, which allows them to build a lot of character from the soil during that time. So it gives them basically, that's called long hang time, as they allow them to just really mature over time, which allows them to pick up a lot more character.
Okay.
We're talking about the Pinotage grape. So here's the part that Elizabeth was talking about, which is kind of cool. So the Pinotage grape was created in South Africa in 1925 by Professor Abram Perold, P-E-R-O-L-D. He wanted Cinsault. Well, they were growing Cinsault down there, which is one of the blending grapes that we've had from France, and it was in our very first South African blend, the Storm Point, excuse me.
Yeah.
So Cinsault is very robust, but they wanted something that had a little more, some of the qualities of Pinot Noir. So that's what he did, is he combined Pinot Noir with Cinsault. But Pinot Noir is really finicky to grow, so that was the reasoning for it. And they got a beast that they did not intend to create in a way. It is a robust grape. So the robustness came, but it is a much bolder and more intense grape for wine production than either one of its parent grapes. So, I mean, you look at this guy, I mean, it does not look like Pinot Noir. And Cinsault, by the way, we had that before, looks a lot like Pinot Noir as well, as far as looking at it. This is much more intense.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it's not so much that it has thicker skins, it has more intense skins. So there's more intense color and, you know, and chemical compounds in the skin, but it doesn't have really thick skins like Petit Syrah, so we're not seeing the intense tannins.
Okay.
So I have a question. So to be clear, when you're saying it doesn't look like a Pinot Noir, at this point, are you talking about literally the grape, or when you like hold this up and kind of look at what the wine looks like?
Good question, Chris. I forgot I wasn't on camera and I was demonstrating. I mean the wine.
Okay.
Yep, I do. I mean the wine itself does not look like a Pinot Noir. No one would mistake that.
It's definitely darker.
Right. And then, because if we go back to that Storm Point red blend, which was dominantly Cinsault, it looked like Pinot Noir in the glass before you got into tasting it. So, so those two both look very similar in the glass, and this looks like nothing like either one of them. So I think that's kind of
Jeff. Earlier you said that this sort of Pinotage can kind of get away from you, right? So elaborate a little bit on that. Is it you know, is it soil quality? Is it temperature that they you know, if they struggle with it and they have sort of higher temperatures in one season? Because I can see how this I mean, close to the bay, but you have this sort of, you need this minerality in the soil, but you need it to drain, and I can see how that needs to be kind of a discrete balance. If you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Oh, sure, absolutely. You're exactly right. If you have an area that does not have the mineral quality or the quick pour, you know, the porous soil, you will get, this grape can become overripe very quickly. And when it becomes overripe, it's a combination of the fruit is intense, but that quality that we're tasting and enjoying, which is a smoky, earthy quality, can become like freshly paved asphalt or new paint on the nose. It can actually smell like fresh paint. So when it gets away from you like that, where if you don't have the location right, you let it become overripe. If it's just too warm, an area, this grape can have a lot of very intense and negative flavors.
So they leave it with that long hang time, like you said, but they have to be really careful that they don't go too long.
Oh, right. Yeah. They're absolutely having to monitor it to make sure that they're not getting an extremely hot summer. Then they're going to pull it back and pick before it's as ripe, or, you know, not let it ripen as far in order to keep some acid balance and that type of thing. Yeah. But, and that's one of the things they're calling they're calling for a renaissance of Pinotage, because a lot of winemakers gave up on Pinotage. They tried it, the results weren't particularly good, and they said, forget it. And they're growing Syrah and Cabernet Sauvignon, things that are a little easier to grow. But you know, some of these guys, especially the Hamilton Russell winemakers, they said, you know, we need to not give up on this thing. And when done properly, and more winemakers in South Africa are doing it properly, they're pushing to show people this is like, to me, if you're pairing something, say, this could easily take the place of a Syrah. You know, Syrah, where you get that, you know, a little intense, some nice pepper quality, great for barbecue, you know, pork butt, that kind of a thing. This guy's a great bottle
Sure.
of wine to go in that place. It could replace, I mean, if you wanted, to me, if you wanted a cab for a leaner steak, right? This could replace that. This could go with a leaner steak like filet mignon.
I was even thinking Malbec, like it has that kind of pepperiness, and some of those qualities that I'm like, yeah, all right, like it's a little bit bold, not overbearing or anything else like that.
Hey, Jeff, how long can you keep this wine?
Good question.
Oh, for aging
Yes.
on this guy? So I would go 5 to 10 on this guy. Yeah.
You want to explain why?
So, well, it's a combination. It's one of those where it's going to hang out. It's not particularly acidic. Acidity is one of the
Right.
factors. It's not particularly high alcohol,
Right.
and it doesn't have very large tannins already that need to relax. So it really doesn't need to relax. So, you know, aging is, if I were to think about, oh, what would aging bring out in this? I really don't see a lot of change.
It'll stay the same.
It'll stay
Then
pretty
why
close.
wouldn't it fall off? Like, why are you
And
saying-
you're likely
Okay.
it could. So
Okay.
it should remain stable for a good 5, maybe even 10 years because it's a well-made wine. But I wouldn't go beyond that because I think it's just going to fall off.
Okay.
And I think what you would gain from aging on this wine is minimal. A little different when we were drinking that Bordeaux. I don't know if you guys remember the Tour Prignac, where we had that one that had to really unwind, and part of that
Oh, yes.
aging for that would have been that it would just come out of the bottle a little more relaxed.
I think that's one of the ones that you aerated before we drank it.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. That one from the beginning. All right. Let's jump back in.
Here's
here.
a slightly off-topic question. So I know you're not a botanist, but how do you crossbreed two varieties of wine, varieties of grape? Like you said, the Pinot and the Cinsault.
Mhm.
How do you blend?
I'm not sure how they did it. Actually, no, I'll look into it and see how they do it. It's a good question. I should learn how to do it, how it's done. But
Isn't it?
I don't know
done
if
by
it's
grafting?
done with a cross pollination or some type of yeah. I'm not.
I
Quite
know
sure.
to make like a variety particularly hardy for a different region, they'll do grafting. But cross pollination sounds like the most likely to breed two different types of grapes. But
Right. I would think it would have to in order to have the DNA create something different. But yeah, that's my best
So,
guess.
speaking of grafting, so in South Africa,
Mhm.
are they grafting onto the like? Did they have the phylloxera issue too? Okay,
They did. Yeah.
so they're already grafted.
Yeah, they're grafting the vines.
Okay.
Just like most of the world.
Do you want me to
Yep.
share?
Let's go ahead and
Okay.
jump back. All right, so there was the blend of the two. Next screen, please. So some of the taste that can come. So here we've been talking about this plum smoke. I like the Rubio's tea comment. That's kind of fun. Bacony, which we'll get that kind of earthy, smoky quality. I can go with a bacony quality to their licorice. I could totally see blackberry,
Absolutely.
raspberry. So I think, not necessarily all of them.
What about hoisin?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know either.
I'm happy to just.
I was waiting for you to explain what hoisin was. Does anyone know?
Yeah, it's used in like Asian dishes and stuff like that. We have a thing of hoisin sauce over here, but yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Okay, you have to bring that in so we can smell it and taste it, so we can
Yeah.
recognize hoisin next time.
Hoisin sauce.
Oh yeah, I've seen that in the store.
Yeah.
It's in Publix.
Asian dishes and stuff like that often have it. I don't know how I would describe it. Maybe a little.
Robin's face.
Did you make that graphic or did you find it? I feel like that would be super helpful every week.
Oh
Yeah,
no, I
I-
found it. This is at Wine Folly, which is an amazing resource, by the way. Never would I and try to steal their stuff. They've done amazing work and they deserve the credit. So.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Mhm.
Jeff, how confident are you that if you had to pick 10 flavorings and you like, today, and then within like 3 or 4 weeks you tried the wine again, you would pick the exact 10 flavorings?
In the wine, you mean?
Like this graphic, if you
Oh,
had
like
to pick 10.
Oh yeah. So if I had to pick 10, and then you think just if I were to blind taste it, would I say the same words again?
Yeah.
I think it would be at least a 90% overlap.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel that I think I'm pretty consistent.
Yeah, I think you are. I do not feel confident that I would
I don't either.
have the same. No. Mm-mm.
I will say like that maybe that hoisin sauce is there's a bit of a like a teriyaki sauce kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No.
I think it's sort of like a teriyaki and also like maybe a sweet barbecue type of thing. Like,
Yeah, I mean now that it's had even more time
Yeah,
to open
actually, I
up,
could get that
right?
from that. Mhm.
Yeah,
which I
there's
think
almost-
really overlaps with a lot of the other things that people have mentioned, like a little bit of smokiness, some of that sweet
Mhm.
stuff like that. I think hoisin has all of those sort of characteristics. At least that one.
Get it more in the nose than on the taste.
But yeah, it's definitely come
Mhm.
out. That's
Yeah.
like I say, this is a wine unlike any we've had before. I mean, it's a unique wine, but this is I think it's very easy to enjoy. I think this one's a real winner that
Mhm.
people can really like it and see. It's showing you the qualities of what Pinotage can be, and it is being itself, but in a way that is just elegant, but still robust.
In a way that's not beating you over the head with the tar.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've had those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be brutal.
I think Brian would really like those. We should get those for Brian.
Yeah. Okay.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
think so?
All right. So our little grape anatomy here that we tend to go through week to week. So in this case, we're not dealing with a particularly thick skin, just a very intense, dark skin full of all of the different chemicals that make up the intense flavoring. And then you go here, so with the different acid, the acidic and sugar areas of the grape, we're dealing with kind of modest, we're not dealing with a lot of intensity.
Which one
on
did you
that.
say was the thick skin grape? I can't remember.
Petite Syrah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because it's always like a misnomer. You think, oh,
Mhm.
it's small.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beast. So here we're getting into where this is actually grown. So this is in that territory. The southern right comes all the way out. There's just a hill here in a city and then the coast right here, which we saw before. And then Hamilton Russell, the estate is here. And then this is a separate, a little high end, super high end for them, which
They
is
grow all their own grapes, the Hamilton Russell, or do
they do all of this. I know for a fact is estate.
Mhm.
This I'm not sure if it's sourced. I couldn't find
Okay.
that information, but I
Okay.
think it's theirs.
I mean, it looks pretty
so
good.
right.
Mhm.
Here they are. Such a cool little
So
lovely
pretty.
place.
It's really cute.
Yeah.
So this is Hamilton Russell was founded in 1975 by Tim Hamilton Russell, currently run by his son Anthony Russell and his wife Olive. So it's just second generation in this. It's not been around all that long. They took over in 1991, and like I told you before, their big thing is they want to express the terroir of the area.
Mhm.
They do that with the wines that have the name Hamilton Russell. That is Pinot Noir and Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and then they have a red blend. When they make Sauv Blanc or Pinotage, they put that under the southern right because that's that area that they're pulling from as a slightly different one. Really high end, wonderful wines. Their Chardonnay is incredible. Everyone, Chardonnay haters. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Oh, by the way, does this look like some drama? Look at that. This is a dining room. I don't know if you guys can see
That
it
is
well.
really cool.
Yeah, down in their cooperage area. I think it's just awesome. I would love to
I
have them.
love the dramatic barrels too with the red.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really great, right?
Like something out of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then speaking of drama, this is the couple. This is Anthony
really?
and Olive. Yeah. Anthony and Olive Russell. By the way, interestingly, secondary products that they make out of there, olive oil. I'm not sure when they added it. Maybe it was when Olive joined the team. I don't know. But
Are they from South Africa? Do you know?
yeah, they are.
But,
Well,
like,
I know
he is
he
because
is.
he's second
Right.
generation. Mhm.
Yeah, I can't say I didn't get any information. I didn't see any information provided about Olive when I was in there. Let's see. So here we are, wine scores. So we've got this guy generally sits right there at 90 year on and year in, year out. This was considered to be a particularly good year. So they gave it a 93, still in that outstanding level of wine. We've talked before about the characteristics of wine ratings and how it tends to be an amalgamation of the enjoyment and experience of the wine by itself, and then also how it stacks up for the area and how it stacks up for the grape varietal. And that all tends to kind of bump it up and down and you know, in different ways. One of the examples that I always like to give is that I rarely see a champagne, true champagne, rated under 90 points. But but it's very difficult to find them above 92 because they tend to kind of give it a bottom level,
Right.
but they tend to be really hard about giving them higher ones, except for in really good years that they declare to be vintage years. Then all of a sudden they'll bump up. So you'll see vintage champagnes like Dom Perignon get 98, but that's because the grapes are particularly good. Dom only makes wine in vintage years. They skip the other years.
They don't make it, or they throw it out and don't distribute it?
Well, most of the winemakers in Champagne are buying their grapes, so they
Okay.
just would skip it that year and keep
okay.
selling one that they did before.
Okay.
Anyway, so what are you guys thinking? You know, kind of taking all that in there from the fact that even an 85 is a very good wine, which is one of my things I always like to point out. There's nothing wrong with that, but people think there is. I'd say a 90 plus point wine is an easy win for me on this guy, considering where it's from, what it is, and the level of just enjoyment of the wine. Why don't we jump over and we'll talk face to face for this discussion real quick.
Hold on before we. So this is the signature grape for South Africa. A lot of people have given up on it, you said.
Yes.
Are there other regions in the world that grow Pinotage, or is it now just South Africa?
It is rare, but some people do have it as part of the blend. There's some in California.
Okay.
I've seen a little in Australia.
Just as a blending grape with
only
other
as
things,
a blending.
not as a single varietal.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, yeah, I have not seen a Pinotage show up anywhere else in the world other than South Africa. So, from what I know of the grape and from drinking other ones, I'd say this guy is an easy 90 plus point wine. Yeah, I would go there, and I am really enjoying it. I think it's
I'm really enjoying it. I don't know that I've had another Pinotage though, so
no.
I think this is my first one. So
That's what I was saying. Like, I don't know how to rate it because I can't compare it to any other of the varietal.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Like I really love this, and I was like, I mentioned I was like, like a 92, but at the same time, if you just want to tell me this is like a nice wine with special qualities, and so this is like, and it's an 88. I mean, like, listen, it's a nice wine. Again, it has these special qualities, but it's not, you know, primo. I also get that. This also could be the best Pinotage in existence. So it should be a 98. Like
right.
Like,
yeah. I totally get where you're coming from on that. Where you're like, if you take this into consideration, I'm here, and then I'm here, and that's kind of where that whole point of, you know, where does it apply versus, and where is it drinking versus other Pinotages I've had. That's where I get. I'm like, okay, because like just intrinsic enjoyment of the wine could easily be an 88. You know, just. Because also I love Malbecs and I love, you know, other things. But I think as far as being such an excellent version of itself, I think that to me, that bumps it up into something that should jump above the 90s.
Well, above the 90s.
I mean, up into the 90s.
But I think
this is 102.
What you've said too about the fact that it's so easy to be overwhelming, and this is not overwhelming. So I guess I would, because of what you've said about that, a lot of them get so overwhelming, that I would give it some points for, you know, being complex, but not, I don't feel like I'm like hating it because of the terroir. I mean, I'm enjoying it a lot, but the tar isn't, you know.
Right.
just
Right.
knocking me to the ground. So
Well, to me, the winemaker deserves so much credit on this because, the winemaker and the grape growers, because what they ended up creating is this thing that is a bold wine with a lot of flavors.
Right.
And you're being introduced to a flavor and aroma profile that you've never exactly had before.
No.
It doesn't taste like anything else. And yet it's still instantly enjoyable.
yeah.
To me, that's kind of, to me, the genius of the coalescence of everything that they've been able to accomplish. That's why I'm really impressed with this wine.
How many Pinotages do you have in the store?
2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, as you're saying, there's Pinotages and there's Pinotages, and I've had some that were really good for putting around the plants.
Mhm.
So you need to get out and taste a few, and then you can tell the difference, just like anything. That's a good one.
Right. I actually I'll have 3 as of tomorrow. I'm bringing one back in that I hadn't had in a little while. So the one coming in tomorrow is kind of my entry level price point, and then this is my mid level, and then I have a higher end one. So, which is kind of where I like to always go. And I'd say 3 is probably the appropriate amount for a store our size. If I had 15 different Pinotages, we'd be looking at them for 15 years. But anyway, all right. So,
Other questions, comments, ratings?
This was such a good, different wine that didn't make me feel like out of my league. Like sometimes I feel like we bring in that are new and different, and like we taste this and this and all these things that like I don't identify, and I feel like, yep, me too. Whereas this is like different and new and delicious and identifying with other people's comments. So that's really nice. And like a new wine tasting of like, this is new and different, but I hear and identify with what everybody's saying.
well, good.
Yeah, no, I feel the exact same way as Julie, because I felt like I could actually taste those things. But that's like at the beginning when I was saying, okay, I'm thinking things, but I don't know if they're right.
Yeah.
But then what you said, I actually could identify with.
There's a ton to think about with this wine. I mean, there's a bunch that I haven't said that you could describe this wine as. It's it's got a lot going on. But I'm really glad that we could explore it and that you guys are enjoying it, and not just getting through and saying, well, that was an education. Glad I got a buzz,
Well, I'll say that I like it, and I'm still not to the point where I can like start picking out flavors and stuff. I think Linda is getting there, because as soon as we opened it up, she goes, wow, I'm getting like a smokiness to it, and the peppery and stuff. And so I think she's starting to advance a little bit faster than I am. But I like it. That's where I am right now as far as my wine expertise.
No,
I like it or I don't like it. I like it.
Yeah, at the beginning, I felt like it probably, at the very beginning, I told Paul, I said, if it could be like a dark stout beer, but it kind of like changed over into a wine, I could see the transition. Like I smell oak and like coffee and some of the flavors that I usually smell when I drink a nice dark beer, which is what I like. But now I feel like I smell and taste more fruit now that it's warmed up a little bit, and we've been sitting here for over an hour with it. So, but that's just my take. But Paul and I did have a question for you, Jeff.
Yeah. Well, do you want me to ask it now, or?
It depends on if it's directly on topic with this, ask it now. If not, we'll just cover it after we stop recording.
Well, no, it was the one that I asked last week about your journey.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you know so much.
That's right.
And we're just curious how you got to be where you are in terms of your journey.
Wine and beer, or just wine?
Wine, I think. I don't know.
Wine.
I didn't mean to.
Just wine.
I didn't mean to speak for you.
Well, when you start your beer
Okay.
session, we'll ask the beer one.
We'll do the beer one later. All right. So
I was more thinking your psychological journey, but I guess that could be
That's
part
right.
B of the
I'm gonna
question.
tell you that could keep us around a long time.
And how did you marry up?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
We'll cover that one after the recording. Hook them while they're young. That's all I say. So my wine journey started when I was on a cruise ship. I was 18 years old. Interestingly, the first wine tasting I ever went to, I was 18 years old, international waters, so I could drink, on a cruise ship. And Robert Mondavi was leading the wine tasting. And so my parents said they were going to this thing, and I said, hey, I want to go. And my two brothers were like, yeah, we're not interested, we're good. And so they went and did something else. And I went to the wine tasting with them, and Robert Mondavi noticed me there, and he served me wine and talked to me about wine that night. That was really the first wine tasting I ever had. That was so cool. It was so great.
That's a story I've never heard before.
Really?
Actually, yes.
Did you know who he was? Did you know who?
Well, I knew he was I knew his name was Robert Mondavi and that we were drinking Robert Mondavi wines at the time. But I mean, I was 18, so what do I know? I was like, oh, that's cool. The winemaker talked to me. I didn't realize it was Robert Mondavi. So I feel like it was, kind of meant to be.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So from then on, actually, as we move forward, my career was in the semiconductor industry for years. So I spent a lot of time in California. And while I was out there, I drank a lot of beautiful wine with clients or people for whom I was a client over the years. I really was kind of a wine guy. Mm-hmm. Not that I knew nearly as much as I thought I should or wanted to, but my predisposition was wine. I've always loved wine. When I began brewing beer, it was simply because I was interested. I love cooking and I love creating things that people enjoy. And I did some research and realized I could make some great beer at home, but I cannot make good wine at home. So that was the beginning of my beer journey, which turned into a whole grad school thing and all of that. But when we bought Tipple's, the owner that I bought it from that was there, because there were originally two, the one that was left that I bought from was in charge of the wine section. And I thought one of the first things that I worried about, and then one of the first things I heard from a customer was, because I was worried that they would say, oh no, no one's going to care about the wine anymore at Tipple's. And one of the first wine customers came in and said, oh, I know you're a beer guy, so I guess you're going to get rid of the wine side, huh? And I said, no, I was really worried about that impression. And so I studied like crazy. And within 4 months, I went for my entry-level sommelier and earned that. So that was back in 2016. When you add on to that I've been consuming, because wine reps are wonderful and they help educate their customers, especially when you're attentive. I write down all of my notes every time I taste wine, but I taste an average of 20 wines a week. So when you look at the coalescence of that much wine tasting, 20 wines a week, 50, let's call it 50 of the weeks a year times going into my 6th year, I've been drinking a lot of wine.
Yeah, that's 6,000.
Yeah. And I continued to study, of course, the whole time. And honestly, as much as I learned during all of that going into the beginning of last year, and then it was intimidating to think about leading the discussion. And at first I thought I was going to bring my wine reps in, and they were, well, most of them were laid off. Yeah. So that became not a thing. So I had to do it myself. My study in order to lead the group discussion each week I swear I've doubled my wine knowledge in the last year. I've taken it into another level.
When you have to teach something,
right?
Yeah, you learn it really well.
I've learned so much more, which I really appreciate with everybody. So when I eventually go for my next level sommelier, that'll be all like a toast to you guys for helping me get there. And I think that studying is going to be much easier now that I've been through this discussion, these discussions with you guys. So this has been, I love doing this. It's just so much fun for me. And I'm glad you guys join me and enjoy it as well.
Yeah, we're enjoying it. And we started watching the Somm movies.
Oh yeah.
And that's is that that's your life right now? Is you got the flashcards and
I do
apps everywhere.
Yeah, there's an app. What the heck is that app? Anyway, there's a flashcard app, and a lot of people already have it ready for the next level, and then the next level again of sommelier.
Is it specifically a wine app? Like
no.
App? So is it Quizlet?
It's Quizlet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I couldn't remember the name.
Yeah.
Quizlet has people that have shared all their study guides.
Quizlet's fantastic.
It's amazing. You
Shout out to Quizlet.
Flip through. Yeah, that's badass. But yeah, the Somm movies are great. And now my next level Somm is still not as intense as what they're going through, because that's the master's level, which is 2 levels higher. Oh, okay. So there's entry level Somm.
So the question is, how many levels of sommelier are there?
There's entry level, certified, advanced, and master.
And they're like
certified.
Yeah. So
very few masters. In the world.
there are very few masters, just 100 and something, if I remember
In the whole world.
correctly.
My
In the whole
God.
world. Yeah. Yeah. So, like I said, so I've been through, entry level. I don't get to call myself a sommelier, but I am sommelier trained and I've got a lot of knowledge. It's, okay. I'm certainly to where I can do some things, but I definitely want to at least get to certified. And if I were to become advanced, from what I've heard, I would be the only advanced in North Central Florida, which
Wow.
would be kind of fun.
It's a huge region to be the only one.
Yeah, well, the sommelier in charge of the Ritz-Carlton in Orlando offered to study with me so we could both do it together.
Right.
Which I need to call him up.
And we could go study at the Ritz, is what I just heard you say.
That's right. We would go celebrate at the Ritz if we passed. That would be.
If we pass.
We will quiz.
That guy and I.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. So anyway, all right. Jumping back in.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate that.
We're jumping back into
To the
find
slides.
out what the next wine is, right?
Yes, we are on to next week.
Okay.
Actually, I think we've got the world map. So here we are.
So we are here.
Yeah. So
Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. You're maybe to the right just a touch, but you're basically
Okay.
there.
All right.
So you can see, like, part of what they're talking about is because it's at the northern tip of the southern equator where you can grow. That's why they have these warmth concerns, because it's a little too warm in that area.
Right.
So they have to, it's only good right at the southern tip of Africa. But I will say it's extremely good. They can make some beautiful wines. As you can see down here, when we're drinking Mendoza, it's way down here.
Yeah.
Chilean,
Much farther south.
Australian,
And all of New Zealand.
yeah, all is. So this guy's up in the warmer zone where you're gonna need some help with cooling that vineyard down.
With cool it down.
Cool it down now.
Yeah.
We watch out. All right, so everyone whined so much about Chardonnay that I changed my mind. We are going to drink a Californian Chard, but I think I decided which one. I wanted to make it something that everyone would at least have a really good story so that you guys wouldn't whine about it. But it does show the current state of poor Chardonnay getting hate. But we will find a delightful one and you guys will eat your words. But we're going to drink the Star Lane Sauv Blanc from Happy Canyon, California. This will be the southernmost region of California that we've had. And it is a very, very different expression of Sauv Blanc from New Zealand because of the warmth.
I can tell the person typing was rushing just a little bit.
Oh, the chicken?
Well, and consistent
Oh,
and
wow.
vintage to vintage. There's a few.
Wow, I really nailed it.
Listen, Jeff, we know you taste like 6,000 wines all the time.
Yeah.
It was after having all the wines. He was like, I
can't even blame
All
him
right, the
today.
slides.
I had no wines, but I did have lots of customers. Oh, sorry.
He was so mad he had to switch it. He's like, whatever. Yeah, I'll just type this up real quick.
That's true.
exactly.
I had a whole beautiful Chardonnay typed up, but no.
I'm excited about this one.
Food, yeah, this is
Yeah.
it's a delicious Sauv Blanc. It's really, really nice. It's more in the Sancerre style, which is very high level Sauv Blanc from France. White meats, chicken, pork chop specifically, turkey, seafood, not including like salmon or tuna.
Too big.
Yeah, too big. Yeah, but shrimp and scallops and white fishes. Maybe I should have just written white fish instead of not fatty fish. Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, like grouper.
We can heap on all kinds of mistakes I made.
There you go.
I was excited about Chardonnay, but I guess.
Don't worry,
I
Chardonnay's
love
coming.
Sauvignon Blanc.
Chardonnay is coming. We are going to do it.
Stop sharing.
Yeah, we're going to stop sharing. and jump out.
Okay. Jeff just wanted something he could eat scallops with.
Oh God, I love scallops.
I know you do.
It's my favorite. So, all right. So let's have a quick toast to Pinotage, and we'll stop the recording, and then we can keep talking unless anyone has anything else you want to say about this wine before we go. Nope.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Cheers,
Sláinte.
everyone.
Yeah.
Cheers.